everyone, welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Katie, and today we're going to do my July reading wrap-up. So if you couldn't tell, my shelves have been changing, and that's going to be a new video as well. Coming up, just a little bit of reorganizing because my mom got a new bookshelf and she got rid of the one that she got on Amazon, so I was like, I'll take it. So we reorganized a little bit, so I have like a little bit more space to kind of spread out, and we just haven't spread out yet, so to speak. But we will be doing that soon. And don't mind my rash here. It's just the wrist watch that I was wearing caused a heat rash, apparently. So anyways, we're just going to have fun. We're going to talk about books. We're going to be upset about books. We're going to cry over books. We're going to have a good time today. So let's get started. So I brought my handy dandy reading journal because without this, I would be completely lost. Now, it's confession time, okay? As soon as I'm done with a book, if it's not like a 5 or 6 star read or a 1 star, I will most likely forget it immediately after reading it. But thankfully, I've been blessed with, as long as I see the book cover, usually most of my thoughts come back on the book. So I'm very thankful for that. And that's why the reading journal is such a help to me, is that I see the star rating, but I also see the book cover, and it really helps me to remember a lot about it. So let's go into July. Oops, that's August. Where's July? There we go. Okay. So I would say a pretty mediocre month for reading, which is kind of sad. It was my birthday month. I was hoping that all of them would be 5 stars. Now, that's okay, but most of them I would say were between 3 and 4 stars, but I did have some very excellent reads throughout the month. And thankfully they were kind of spread out, so I didn't get into a reading slump or anything. So this month I finished 14 books, but I am working on 2 more today. Will they be completed considering it's already past lunchtime? Probably not. I would like to, and if I do end up finishing those books, I will put them at the end of this video, but most likely they will not get done. I am going to try though, because I would like to get at least 2 more done. And I'm halfway through both almost, so that's good. Okay, so as far as star ratings go, well, I read I was going to say a nonfiction. I did not read nonfiction today. I read 4 mainstream fiction, and then I read 10 Christian fiction. So not bad. As far as star ratings go, I had 1 star. We'll talk about that in a second. I had no 2 stars, thankfully. I had 3 stars, 1 3.5 star, 4 4 stars, 1 4.5 star, 1 5 star, and 3 6 stars. So I actually did have a lot of 6 stars this month, which I was very happy about. Just the rest of the majority of the reading was just kind of meh to me. There were some parts that I liked more than others in the book, so like I did bump it up to a 4 sometimes. But the longer I think about it, the more closer they are to 3 stars, just so you know. I'll let you know. And a bad note about this month too is I did not finish 3 books. I decided to stop 3 books this month. That's a lot for me. Normally I maybe have 1, but 3 is a lot for me. So we're gonna talk about those 3 first. And thankfully I don't own any of them. No, I do not. So thankfully I don't have to unhaul them. So the first one is The Lost Husband by Catherine Center. This was for my first time reading Catherine Center vlog. I ended up DNFing this one. This was the 3rd book that I read by her. The other 2 were fantastic. But this one, it was dealing a lot into enlightenment, and we started there seemed like a girl who might be a psychic because she was like, I can contact your husband. Well, he's been dead for years. So yeah, so I got that weird feeling with that book, and I was like, you know what, this is just not for me, and I will check out some of her other books, but that one I'm not going to continue. The next one was The Sweetest Remedy by Jane Igharo, which I actually do have a copy of. So it's this book. I forgot I had it on my bookshelf, but I DNF'd this one. No reason except I was just bored, and I was about 30% of the way through almost, maybe not that much, but I was just like, I was so bored. It was so slow. Nothing wrong with the writing or the story, but I was just like, nothing was going on. I'm like, I was not in the mood for a slow book at the time. Will I pick it up again? Honestly, I don't think I will. It didn't hold my attention at all through the book, so I'm like, no, it's just not for me, I don't think. But in this book, we're following a girl who she finds out that her father passed away, but her father had another family in Africa. And so she's like, I don't want to go to his funeral. Like, his family doesn't know about me. She knew about his other family. And so she ends up going to Africa to see her family. And yeah, the family knows nothing about her. And there's a romance between her and like a friend of the family type of thing. But to me, it was just so slow. And if it does pick up, let me know. I might try again, but I think it's going in my unhaul pile. So yeah, unfortunately, it's just not one that I plan on keeping on my shelves. And then the last book that it was an interesting DNF. It's called You Shouldn't Have Come Here by Geneva Rose. And somebody blurbed on the front that she was like the queen of twists or something. And I can see that there was a twist, but funny story is I was just really in the mood for a thriller. So like I was trying to push through it because I'm like, I was just in the mood for a thriller. And I don't think I really got to read another thriller besides this one. So, oh well. But yes, I read it. It's about a girl who she's like on the road right in the beginning, and she decides to like rent this Airbnb, and she goes to this place. It's a really small town, and but like he was kind of acting a little weird in the beginning. He's got like a brother who's acting weird in the beginning, and so like she's wondering what's going on, what's happening. You know, this guy had like an ex-girlfriend. Where is the ex-girlfriend? And so we're kind of following her journey, but there was quite a bit of language in it, so I was like, I wanted to DNF it because of that reason. And then there was like a skinny dipping scene. Nothing happened in that scene, but I was like, okay, I think I'm gonna stop now. And I was like, I think almost halfway through the book, but I was like, there was just too much going on. I'm like, no. But I really wanted to know what happened, so I did end up going and flipping to the end to see who did it, whatever. So I did end up reading like the last chapter or two, which I never do. I never skip to the ending to see what happens, ever. This is like the first time I've ever done that. But I just wanted to see what happened. And the twist, it was a good twist, but I kind of could see it coming a little bit. So it didn't really shock me as much as I thought it was going to. So yes, those are the reasons why I decided not to finish it, but I did skip to the ending because I wanted to know what happened. And it was a pretty gruesome ending too, so just so you know with that book. But yeah, so yeah, it wasn't that great of a thriller. I've read better ones. Now on to the books we actually read this month, since we're already 8 minutes into the video. It's gonna be a long one. But I enjoy talking about books with you all, and these don't hardly go over 40 minutes. So we're just gonna have fun, grab a coffee, or tea, water. I have water next to me because I'm filming a lot today. So let's go on with our 1-star read. Oh, that's a fun one. So the first one, I'm going to go through the mainstream fiction first and then the Christian fiction, just so you know. So the first one that I read was Dancing with Mr. Darcy. It was a short story collection collected by, it looks like Sarah Waters, I think. I think that's who put it together. But it was for like a Jane Austen contest or something. So she put all the short stories that were her favorite into this little collection. So I read it for Chantel's reading challenge this year. And seriously, if it wasn't for a prompt, I would have quit this book too. It was so dull, so boring. Half the books were set in the past, half the stories were set in present times. Some were like, you could definitely see the influence of Jane Austen. Other ones were like, just like a random story about somebody in a village or something, and she comes across a Jane Austen book in a bookstore. I'm like, there's not really any influence, really, of Jane Austen or her work. And like none of the stories really stood out to me. I actually skipped one story because it was about like a girl who was like a nude model or something. I'm like, I don't need to read that. So I skipped that one. But the rest of them, like, only one stuck out to me. That's why I kind of gave it 1 star instead of 0 stars. Well, I can't do that anyways on Goodreads. But the only one that kind of stuck out to me was the first story. And the first story is actually about Jane Austen, and she's on trial. And all of the older women, the older protagonists from her stories, are going against her, saying, like, you know, you put us in a bad light, like, you always, you know, make us silly and, you know, not right in the head, pretty much. And so they're kind of going against her in court. And so that is really the only story that stuck out to me, was I found that one really interesting. So that one got the, the bump to 1 star, but the rest of the stories I remember nothing about. Like, they were boring, they were slow to me, and I didn't see a ton of inspiration from Jane Austen or her works. Yes, I don't have much experience with her works. I've seen a lot of her movies, and I've read one of her books, and I'm in my second book of hers, but I still didn't see that much. So yes, that's why I only got 1 star, and yeah, that's unfortunate, but oh well. Normally I give short story collections like 3 stars, but this one I could not connect with any of the stories except for the first one. So if you want to read it, I highly recommend the first story. Okay, the next one that I read a classic, which actually had like a reprint, so I don't know if things changed because it was on NetGalley. This was a NetGalley ARC that I got. And so I ended up giving it 4 stars. So I really loved this classic. It was The Lady Vanishes by Ethelina White. And Alfred Hitchcock made a movie about this. And I think it had a new title, or a different title, before it became The Lady Vanishes. But in this book, we're following a girl who was on vacation with a bunch of friends. And she decides, my friends have been kind of, they were almost like a drunk party of teenagers pretty much. And so she's like, I don't really want to continue my journeys with them. I kind of just want to be by myself. So she tells them to go home, and she'll travel by herself on the way home. So she stays 1 or 2 days later, and she ends up taking a train back home. And she ends up being with the strangers that she met at the hotel that she was at. Well, she ends up talking to this one lady, and then she ends up taking a nap because she hit her head before the train. And when she wakes up, the lady is nowhere. And nobody has seen her. Nobody thinks that she was even on the train. And she's like, am I going crazy? Like, I could have swore there was a lady on this train. Like, what's going on? So she's trying to figure out if she's going crazy or if she's not. Where is this lady? So it was really good. It's been a while since I've seen the Alfred Hitchcock, and if you've ever seen Flight Plan starring Jodie Foster, that also is inspired by this book. So either movie, and I really do love Flight Plan. It's one of my favorite movies. I should rewatch it. I love that movie. But yes, I enjoyed it. 4 stars. And then the next 2 books that I have are both Catherine Center books that I read for my vlog, and I ended up giving The Bodyguard 4.5 stars. Really loved it. Very close to 5 stars. I think the only reason I didn't was there was a little bit of language in the book, and then there was one scene at the end where it was a fade to black love scene, not a closed door, but a fade to black. So we don't see the act, but you know what's going on. But it was very quick and short at the end. But as far as like the relationship goes between the 2 main characters, loved that. I thought it was fantastic. The author does a really great job with relationships, and just like the banter back and forth between characters. I really, really enjoyed that one. And that one is one of my favorite tropes, which is a bodyguard trope. And it's a female bodyguard protecting a movie star. And it was just so much fun. I love that. I was like, that is so great. That would like make a great movie. I love it. And then the second Catherine Center book that I read, I gave 6 stars to. I really like this one. I felt like it had a little bit less language than the other one. And as far as romance and language goes, I would give both books like a PG-13 rating. As far as like movies go, if you want to give it that way. And so this one, yes, Hello Stranger by Catherine Center, 6 stars. I really enjoyed it. There was actually no love scenes in this book, I don't believe. There was like one makeout scene, but then they got interrupted, so then that was it. But the rest of it, I was like, this is great. Like, I had a fun time guessing what happened. I didn't guess most of it going throughout, but there was like 1 or 2 parts where I was like, oh, I did not see that coming. So this one, we're following a girl who, she ends up in an accident in the beginning of the book, and she's a portrait artist in a huge competition in the city. Well, she ends up needing brain surgery due to something else, actually, and she did not find that out until the accident. So she ends up having surgery, and she ends up having face blindness because of that surgery. And so she's like, what am I going to do? I can't recognize faces. They look like puzzle pieces to me. How am I going to paint when I can't even see somebody? And so she's trying to figure out how to paint a portrait for this contest. She has no idea. And so she gets the help of this neighbor of hers who she thinks is a jerk right from the beginning, which I knew there was like a miscommunication going on there. It was a well done miscommunication to me anyways. But yeah, so she gets his help, and then romance ensues, and a possible love triangle ensues, and it was so sweet and fun, and heartbreaking at some points too, as she also dealt with like social anxiety and stuff, which I do, but I don't think I do to the extent that she does. So, but it was just nice to get that representation as well. So it was a lot of fun. Really enjoyed both those books. So sorry if the camera angle changed. I had to find some other books. I was like, where are the other books? Oh no, where are they? Anyways, okay, on to Christian fiction. This book, I have a couple 3 stars. I have These Tangled Threads by Sarah Loudon Thomas. Most of these books I have book reviews already for. Well, it's about half and half. So I will link those down below if you want to check out my full thoughts on them. This one, I did enjoy the storyline. I liked seeing like the Biltmore Manor. I liked seeing the weavers and how they created the cloths and stuff. But I had a hard time connecting with the characters in this story, as well as we're following 3 different characters, and we're also jumping timelines, like between I don't know, there's like February 1923, then we go to October 1916, then we go to October 1923, then we're going back to, let's see, there's Christmas 1922. So like, they're kind of like jumping timelines, and the author did a good job at connecting all them at the end, but I had a really hard time following the timelines. I don't normally, but that's a lot of timelines to follow when you're jumping like back and forth in between 3 different characters and their timelines. It was a lot for me personally, so that's why it only got 3 stars. I'm actually probably gonna unhaul this one because I don't see myself rereading it, unfortunately, but I don't think it'll stop me from trying to check out the other author's works, because I did like her writing, just not the jumping timelines. That was quite confusing for me. My next 3-star read was The Hudson Collection by Jocelyn Green. This is the second book in the, what is this called? I forgot, on Central Park series. And I have a review for this one as well. In this one, we're following a girl named Elsa, and she wants to like work as an ornithologist at the American Museum of Natural History. And so she actually helps get birds ready to, I guess, be stuffed. Yeah. For exhibits, and she also catalogs birds that are found in different collections and stuff. Well, she goes to this house where this lady passed away, and there's this collection of birds that she has to catalog and stuff, but then there's a mysterious book missing, and so she needs to try to find it, and she has no idea where to look. There's a sweet girl who lives with like one of the servants in a different house on the land, and so she befriends her, and she's trying to figure out, okay, who is this little girl, what's going on. And I did enjoy the story, and I like the characters, but I just don't think it was a little bit slow for me, and I think I enjoyed the second half of the book more than the first half, and sometimes that happens for me. I have a hard time getting into books sometimes, and that was just the case of this one. But I did still enjoy it, and I definitely will be picking up the 3rd book in this series. I buddy read Secrets in the Mist by Morgan L. Bussey with my friend Christy's Purple Library. She has a channel. I will link it down below. This is the first book in the Skyworld series, and I think we both gave it about the same rating. I gave it between 3 and 3.5 stars. I think I would have enjoyed it more with the physical book. Sometimes audiobooks I don't enjoy as much, but I listened to the audio for this, and on this one we're following 2 different characters, and they're living in a world where they have to live in the sky because on the ground there's deadly mists, and so there's these divers that go down to hunt for different things for people if they're looking for something, and they get paid for it. Well, we're also following a guy who, like, he is a member of the 5 families that like rule the skies, and so he's trying to find out if there's actually a cure, or maybe there already was, and so he's trying to find it, and he hires the help of the divers to try to find some family documents that are at his house that might help with a cure. And so I'm excited to continue the duology. I do really like Morgan L. Bussey and her work, so I do want to continue with it. It did come up in my game for August, for my TBR game, but I don't think Chrissy wants to buddy read it until like October, I think, October or November, so I might have to push that back, because I do want to buddy read it with her, since we buddy read the first one, so I'm just not going to count it toward my game. But it was enjoyable, and it was still like 3.5 stars, so there were parts that I really enjoyed in here, but yeah, I'm intrigued to see what's going to happen in the second book. The Roads Before Us by Janine Roche. I gave this one a 3.5 stars. It was a little better than 3 stars for me. I have come to learn that this is the second road trip book I've read this summer. I have come to find out I don't think I enjoy road trip stories. There's nothing wrong with it. Like, I enjoyed the characters in this book. We're following this girl named Jade, and she was a financial advisor. Well, she lost credibility when her fiance stole a lot of money from clients, and so she's trying to help an elderly client and her foster son to do like a documentary on Route 66 of her and her husband before they became movie stars, and how they fell in love and where they traveled on Route 66. And so I did really like that part. I liked the past timeline better, when we're seeing like the couple fall in love and their movie star life, and it was just really cute. But I just don't think road trip books are for me personally, only because like I seriously go on road trips like so many times, like almost every single year we take a road trip to a couple states away, and I'm like, I just think because I've done it so many times that it's like old hat for me. But like, I really enjoyed the characters and I really enjoyed their journey. Just the whole road trip thing though, I think I'm just over road trips, honestly. And so yeah, that just doesn't interest me anymore as far as like my reading tastes go. Like, I thought I would enjoy road trip books, but I guess I don't, which that's okay. And I still gave it 3.5 stars because the characters were really, really great. Janine Roche is a fantastic writer, and I will be reading a lot more of her books as well. And this is going to stay on my shelf because I did enjoy it. I finally was able to get into Jamie Jo Wright's newest release from spring, and that is Night Falls on Predicament Avenue. And I gave this one, I think, 4 stars? Yes, 4 stars. So I did really enjoy this one. And this one we're following a girl who, different timelines. One is from 1910, Effie, and her sister like wants her to do like everything, and so she pretty much is talked into doing almost anything for her sister. Well, they decide to visit this like old house which is supposed to be haunted. Well, they visit it, and her sister sees a murder happen, and she is pretty much mute after that. She won't say anything. Her sister's like trying to figure out what's going on, what happened. Like, she didn't see it happen, but her sister did. And so she's trying to figure out. Well, then we're following Nora a century later. She actually owns that house that had the murder happen. And so some mysterious things are happening there where an old man passes away in his bed, and supposedly he saw a ghost that frightened him. So she's like worried about, am I going to get sued for that? Yeah, she plays up the ghost stories, but like, she doesn't believe in it, but mysterious things keep happening around her place and stuff. And then a podcaster comes from, I think it's from England actually, and he's trying to help figure out what's going on as well. And there's a little bit of romance, but Jamie Jo Wright is the queen of suspense, so you're not going to get a lot of romance in her books. They're not like the top plot line or anything. And yes, she writes a lot of ghostly stories, but there's always like a Scooby-Doo explanation, so you're not going to get, real ghosts in her stories. So really, really enjoyed it. It's not my favorite of hers, but I did still really enjoy it. I think this is the only debut book I read this month. Don't quote me. I could be wrong. But I read Secondary Target by Angela Carlisle. I actually just finished this last week, and I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. I just thought the action was really well done. I loved the characters. I loved the faith story woven in, how our main character, Karina, she lost a lot of her faith because her family, her and her dad, had been on the run since the murder of her mom and her brother. And so she's trying to find her faith again. And, she keeps asking God, why did you let this happen? What's going on? And now her life's being threatened now. And she's wondering, is there a connection to the past? What is my dad hiding? Why did we change our names? And why did we move? So it was very, very suspenseful. If you're like me, I know some of you aren't, but I do love when an author writes a point of view of the killer. I don't know why. I enjoy that. It's just my weird, twisted mind that likes crime shows and stuff. So I really do love when an author does that, and she does. And I think she does it really well in this book. So it had me guessing till the end. I did, like, for a split second, I guessed who it was, and I guess I was right. So I was like, oh, I guess I was right. So I did really enjoy this one. Wasn't quite 5 stars because it was a little slower in the beginning, but it did pick up pretty quickly. And yeah, it was a fun ride and highly recommend it if you like nice suspense, romantic suspense. It's a great read. So my last 4-star read, which I don't know if I want to keep it last because you guys have been waiting for me to talk about this book for, what, 3 years now? Oh well. Guess who finally read a book that she has been promising to read for, like, yeah, 3 years. I finally read Mountain Laurel by Lori Benton. I am so excited. I finally read it. Yes, it is done. It is complete. I am excited. It matches my outfit and my hair, actually. Look at that. I am just so thrilled that I have finally completed this book. And I already have book 2 on my Kindle ready to go. I might even read it next week if possible, just to get this duology done and over with. So I ended up giving it 4 stars. I still really, really enjoyed it. I love the characters. I think I only didn't give it 5 stars was because the main character, Ian, he was kind of, I wouldn't say hateable in the beginning, but I disliked his character. And so I was like, well, where is this going? What's going on? And then his faith started coming in later on in the book. He started making some changes in his life. I was like, okay, I see you, Ian. I see you. And I was like, okay, you're kind of breaking into my heart a little bit. So yeah, he took a little bit to like, and so that's why it didn't quite reach a 5-star level, but I still really enjoyed it. This one, we're following a man named Ian, and he is tasked to come back to his uncle's plantation where he owned slaves, because back in 1793. And so he's like, I don't really want to own slaves, but like, he can't really go back to his father's place. He can't go back to, I think, his other uncle's place. And so he's like, I have nowhere else to really go, so I guess I'm going to go and help out my uncle, who was also sick at the time. So he needed an heir because he didn't have an heir. He had a new wife. His only son passed away, and he's only got 2 stepdaughters. So there's nobody to take over the plantation once he dies. So he goes to be with his uncle until his passing and to figure out, what to do with the plantation, what's going on. And then he runs into a slave who he met as a child when he used to visit there. And she has this beautiful artistic talent, and she's like trying to hide it because, hello, she's only unfortunately a slave, and she shouldn't even be doing that. But he helps her, and he helps blossom her art, and I really like their relationship, but it went in a direction I was like, no, don't go there. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing explicit on the page that I remember, I don't think. But yeah, I really loved Shona in this book. That's the character of the girl slave in the story. I really loved her character, her faith in God. She was so strong, and I was like, I just really loved her character. I don't know if I would say she's one of my favorite characters, but she's definitely up there. I really, really liked her, and I'm glad that in the book, because her name's spelled Seona, but in the book, she actually does put in there that it's pronounced Shona. I was like, oh, thank you for pronouncing it actually in the words there. But I did really enjoy it, and I'm glad I read it physically rather than audiobooks. I did have the audio, and I was like, no, I think this should be read physically, and I'm really glad that I did. And it is a long book. It was like over 400 pages, but I'm really happy that I finally read it. I'm keeping it on my shelves. It's actually going to go on my red shelf, which is right here. So it's finally going to be put on the red shelf once this video is over. Okay, now we're going into the 5 and 6-star reads. We only have 3 more to talk about. I told you this video wasn't going to be that long. The next one was When a Twilight Breaks by Sarah Sundin. I love Sarah Sundin. This was a 5-star read for me. I buddy read this book with my friend, book lover Amanda, and she didn't like it as much as me, but we still really enjoyed it. And I mean, come on, she binge read that book. Like, come on, girl. You gotta admit that it was like 5 stars. But I just think, I do agree, the beginning was a little bit more on the slow side, but we're learning like the background and everything. But it did get really intense really fast, and I zoomed through it. Once I hit the halfway mark, I'm like, I'm done. I'm gonna finish this book in like 4 hours. So I did, and I loved it. Like Sarah Sundin, I have not met her in person yet, but if I ever did, I'm like, girl, you just need to sign everything that I own, because everything I've ever read by you is like an instant keeper on my shelves. Like I have never in my life will ever unhaul a Sarah Sundin book, because they're so good. They're so good. And this one was no exception. This one actually might be in like my top 3, because I really enjoyed it. And this one, we're following a girl named Evelyn, and she's an American foreign correspondent. And so she's working, but she's a girl during like right before the breakout of World War II. And she's in a man's world. She's in the newspaper business. So she's pretty much treated like garbage by the other men in the office, especially her boss. Her boss, always has her work checked by the men in the office. And, oh, you can't write intense stories because you're a woman. You should write the more fluffy or lighter side so the woman back in the US can see your opinions and stuff. And she's like, like, I don't want to write that. I want to write the gritty and the stuff that's really important. So she still tries to get into that. She still tries to get into those stories. And well, when they start to figure out, the Jews are in danger, their businesses are starting to be lost. They're starting to need the Jewish passports and everything. Well, she finds out that she's 3/4 Jewish, and she had no idea. But she's a Christian. She had no idea that she's 3/4 Jewish. Well, word gets out, and her life is put on the line. And it's just, man, this book took you on a ride. I loved it. I love the relationship between her and Peter. They actually make an appearance in Until Leaves Fall in Paris by Sarah Sundin. So they come in as like side characters. And then the two characters from, well, not two, but the guy in Until Leaves Fall in Paris is in this book. So you get to see him too. But I just really love this book. The characters, just that storyline, oh, it broke my heart. I don't think I quite cried, but I came close in this book. This book was so good. Loved it. Now we're getting into my 2 6-star reads. What should I talk about first? I don't know. They're both so good. I think I'm going to go with this one first. So, The Sisters of Corinth by Angela Hunt. If you love the Mark of the Lion series by Francine Rivers, pick this book up. There's 2 books, the Emma series. Pick them both up. They're both good. There's a 3rd one coming out next year, which I need to get my hands on. Oh, I can't wait, because it like connects all the characters from book 1 and book 2, and I'm like, I need to read it. This book was so emotional, so very good. There's a couple themes in this book that kind of follow a similar theme to one of the other characters. I think it's book 2 of Mark of the Lion series. I don't remember which character or what her name was, but it was like Marcus's sister or something that was like going to the gladiators and stuff. But there's kind of like a similar thing going on in this book, and I was just like, oh, girl, like I wanted her to find Jesus so bad, and she still hasn't. I'm like, oh no, like I have to read the 3rd book to find out what happens to her. But this one, we're following 2 sisters, and one is the daughter of, like, I guess like he's a man in power who's like, pretty up there with the governor and stuff. And she also has a stepsister because he remarried after her mother passed away. Well, the stepsister, she's sweet and really wants to, be nice to her sister. Well, the original daughter of the man is like, I want nothing to do with you. You took the place of my mom. You and your mom are just like, you don't mean anything to me. And so they both kind of have their paths, and the one daughter wants to find romance, like really bad. She wants to be married really bad. And the other one's kind of like, I'm okay not getting married. Like, I'm okay, because she's like, the Bible says, like, sometimes it's better not to be married, depending, on if God wants that for you or not. And so, but then one of the sisters ends up getting engaged. I won't tell you which one, but yeah, things happen, and it was really good, really emotional, and yeah, I love this series. This is one of my favorite biblical fiction series to date, and I've read quite a few of them, so this definitely is up there. It's so good. Then the last book that I have for you today, yay! It is The Cairo Curse by Pepper Basham. Probably my favorite book of the month. It was kind of tied though with the last one. But The Cairo Curse. This is such a great book. It's the second book in the Freddie and Grace mystery series, and I just adore these two characters. I read Mistletoe Countess last year, and to me, honestly, it was like only 4 stars. Like, it was still pretty good, but I was like, I didn't really get the hype for it as much as I thought I would, because I love all of Pepper Basham's books. Don't get me wrong, but it wasn't quite as good as I thought it was going to be. But the second book, oh, Freddie and Grace, I love them as a married couple. I need more Freddie and Grace. I know there's going to be another one, and I still need to read the Juliet Code, so we got that going for me. But just mystery, intrigue, murder, treasure hunting, Cairo, pyramids, just, it was like a historical fiction Indiana Jones, and all I ever wanted in a book. It was so phenomenally written. As I said, I love the characters. I even loved the side characters. I love the, like, not really a butler, but like a gentleman's companion. I love that character. Like, he needs his own story. I'm sorry, but he does. And just, I loved everything about this book. It's going immediately on like a favorite shelf. Spoiler alert, that's another video coming up. But I love this book so much, and I cannot wait. I cannot wait to see what happens. And yes, I cannot wait to see what happens in book 3 and book 4. I don't know if there's going to be more than book 4, but if there is, I am here for Freddie and Grace. We need more books with married couples. I'm just saying, there's not many out there, and this is top notch. I loved it so much, so much. All right, so those are all the books that I read. Let me know if you read them. Let me know if our opinions are different. I love to hear your opinions, and and we each read things differently. If you loved a book that I didn't like, that's okay too, or maybe we'll like the same books. I don't know. But let me know what your favorite book of July was. As I said, I think mine was The Cairo Curse by Pepper Basham, but a close second to The Sisters of Corinth by Angela Hunt. All right, so I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you all in the next video.